Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is Kunamoni Karo, and today we are doing a reaction to Good Enough's The Deadliest Food in the World. Foods in the World. I've never heard of this channel before. I literally just saw the thumbnail and I thought it was Salmonella Academy, and it's not. So I'm like, hey, why not, watch it? Here we go.
Let's start with the dangerous and slowly work our way towards the deadliest ones on the list. Number 5, Casu Marzu. Casu Marzu translates to rotten cheese in Sardinian and is known as the most dangerous cheese in the world. This is a cheese that is traditionally made using sheep's milk and is commonly produced on the island of Sardinia, Italy. Even though it's illegal to sell, the high demand for this delicacy incentivizes local farmers to keep producing it, creating a massive black market that is estimated to bring in around 2.5 million pounds, or around $3 million annually.
We got guns.
No, thank
We
you.
got drugs.
No.
Fresh kidneys.
Wow.
Oh, and we have cheese.
Yeah. I'll just go with the cheese. The reason this cheese is so dangerous is simply because of the way that it is made, which first starts with the wheel of pecorino cheese.
Rotten,
it is then introduced to cheese flies, where they will begin to lay their eggs inside it. And in a matter of hours to a few days, these eggs become larvae. And around the 40th day, the cheese is completely infested with flies and thousands of maggots. For the next 2 to 3 months, the maggots are left to gorge themselves with the cheese,
2 to
so
3
they can,
months?
well,
Are you
poop
crazy?
it back out. And that's the magical ingredient here, since the poop gives the cheese its sought-after flavor and texture. And honestly, the texture does look amazing. I'll give them that. But when it's time to consume the rotten cheese, expect to get around a dozen maggots with every single bite, since they are never removed.
What?
Scientists and health officials have warned that there's always a possibility that the larvae could survive a person's stomach acid and make their way into the intestines, a condition called pseudomyiasis, where the person's intestines become completely infested with maggots, surviving by consuming the person instead, successfully pulling off the sneakiest Uno reverse card. Even though this condition is rare,
why would
I don't think I would be willing to risk it all for a taste of this deliciously textured cheese. Well, maybe just one bite.
No, don't do it. And he's gonna die.
Number 4, larb. Larb is a type of salad that consists of greens, spices, sticky rice, and a choice of meat. This dish originated in South Asia in Laos and is a very popular dish there, even becoming its national dish. At first glance, this would definitely be something I would consider ordering while on vacation, if I ever took any. Now here's the thing, even though this dish looks delicious, it can quickly become deadly, since this meal is oftentimes served with raw meat. There are many types of meat that can be used for this dish, but the most common ones include beef, chicken, duck, fish, and pork.
You're gonna eat
and eating this meal uncooked drastically increases the odds of you contracting a dangerous and potentially fatal disease, from trichinosis, fatal bacterias, rabies, Streptococcus suis, which is a deadly bacteria that is commonly found in pigs, and Southeast Asian liver fluke, a parasitical flatworm found in uncooked fish, which once consumed, the worm can live inside the human liver for many years, where you can rest easy knowing that you'll never truly be alone. There have been many cases throughout the years where this meal has directly led to human fatalities, like in 2019 in Thailand, where a total of 265 people contracted Streptococcus suis after consuming larb, and sadly, 23 of those people would end up losing their lives. Number 3, Sannakji. In Korea, sannakji could be enjoyed multiple different ways, but let's cover the least deadly one first and the most common. Sannakji is a raw dish consisting of the long arm octopus, which is killed just moments before it's to be served. Here, the octopus's body and legs are chopped into pieces and drizzled with sesame oil, and by the time this makes it onto your plate, the legs will still be moving. As you begin to eat, the octopus's suckers will begin to suction onto your tongue and throat, making it difficult to swallow. But I know that if I ever came face to face with this meal, I would have no choice but to totally crush it. Since I have talked way too much of a big game, watching people struggle as they eat disgusting foods on the challenge. No, I'm telling you just have to plug your nose and just power through it.
Sure, honey, sure.
Oh my God, just chase it with the water. He's wasting so much time.
Yeah.
So I have a lot to prove.
I wouldn't.
Now, the second method, on the other hand, is much more challenging and poses a much greater risk of death. And honestly, it's more of a one-on-one fight rather than an actual meal. Here, the octopus reaches your plate fully intact and alive, where it is then tightly wrapped around a chopstick, dipped in sesame oil, and shoved into your mouth. But who are they kidding? The sesame oil is not meant to enhance the meal. It is simply used to rig the fight in the cheating human's favor, as it will now serve as a lubricant. And as soon as the 1v1 starts, the octopus begins to attack, squirming to find its way out, frantically suctioning on to what...
That has to be against the law or something. Damn, that is inhumane. How can you eat something that's alive? And it's literally crawling out of you. Oh, no.
Whatever it can get a hold of. But if you're the human, you must completely focus on your chewing. Soon your hands begin to get sweaty, and within seconds, you begin to break out into a mental panic, questioning yourself, thinking that this might have been a mistake. With your heart beginning to race, you try and cover up your fear by chewing harder and faster. And you have now convinced yourself that it's now or never. It's time to attempt the swallow. But there's a problem. The octopus is still moving. The stares of everyone at the table are piercing, and you feel the ever-growing peer pressure accumulating. So you're forced to go for it, praying to whatever god is listening that the octopus doesn't latch itself onto your throat as you try and swallow it, as that would surely be a death sentence. You force the ball of squirming octopus down your throat, and for a second, your heart stops. But you manage to swallow it. With your heart still racing and a bead of sweat coming down the back of your neck, you look over at your buddy and say, it's not so bad. You got it. As you get up to go clean yourself up in the bathroom. There have been multiple deaths in the last few years.
I would go to the bathroom and literally have a breakdown and cry.
Directly linked to eating live octopus. Even though the danger is obvious, people still search out this delicacy, with some athletes even claiming that this meal increases a person's endurance, but others simply do it for the experience that they will get when they show off the post online. Number 2, fugu. This is one of the deadliest foods in the world, where a single mistake in the preparation could mean life or death. Fugu is a popular dish that originated in Japan in the early 20th century, but as time has gone on, the dish's popularity has only grown, spreading to many countries like China and South Korea. This is a meal that consists of a poisonous pufferfish that has had the poison carefully removed from it. Well, at least that's what should be done, but more on that later. In countries like Japan, a chef must go through long and rigorous training to learn how to properly remove the poison from the meat. The training takes up to 3 years to complete, followed by a string of exams which include a written test, fish identification test, a practical test, and of course, successfully preparing the dish. This test is so difficult that only 35% of all applicants end up passing it and acquiring the license. The reason the pufferfish is so dangerous is because it contains a poison called tetrodotoxin, which is one of the world's most deadliest poisons. A single pufferfish has enough poison to kill 30 adult humans. Now, here's the terrifying part. If someone happens to be so unlucky that they end up consuming even a small amount of the poison, they will be presented with a prayer and a splash of holy water, since there is no known antidote. The poison kicks in shortly after eating it, with your muscles becoming completely paralyzed, and eventually it could cause you to stop breathing. And this is probably when you would start to think to yourself, damn, I should have just gone with the chicken dumplings. The deadliest year ever recorded was in 1958, when 176 people lost their lives to this food alone. Today in Japan, the odds of you dying from fugu are very, very slim, as long as you order from a licensed restaurant. Since most deaths in recent history have come from people who attempted to prepare the dish at home. but sometimes pure evil
Crack
and
addict in
selfishness
the
increase the
house.
death rate even higher. Like in 2004, when fish vendors in Thailand tricked people for 3 years by dyeing the pufferfish meat red and telling buyers that the meat they were selling was salmon, leading to 115 people needing to be hospitalized, and 15 of them sadly losing their lives. Number 1. Wild and exotic wet markets. Now, of course, this had to be number 1 on the list, since a single meal from one of these wet markets carries the greatest risk to human health. This is one of the rare instances where a single meal consumed by an individual doesn't just affect the person eating it, it could potentially affect every person on the planet. Now, I know what you're thinking. What could possibly be so delicious that it's worth putting the entire world's population in jeopardy? Brownies. The answer is brownies. But as far as wet markets go, yeah, I don't think snakes, turtles, dogs, cats, bats, my nephew, porcupines, or raccoons would be a justifiable answer. And it seems like every few years, without fail, the world gets a massive scare when a deadly disease breaks out. And of course, they always seem to be traced back to one of these wet markets. Remember the SARS outbreak of 2002?
Me
neither. But it's widely believed by epidemiologists and public health officials that this outbreak originated from a wet market in the Guangdong province of China. What about the Ebola outbreak of 2014? Remember how terrified everyone was to even let out a cough, as you would forever be known as the person with Ebola. The origins of the 2014 Ebola outbreak is traced to a small child whose family regularly hunted and consumed
I remember that
bats.
one.
Sure, this wasn't a wet market, but it easily could have been. And last but not least, as we all know, the recent pandemic we just had is widely believed to have originated in China from a bat in the Wuhan wet market. These are just a few of the diseases that have caused a massive scare in recent times. But here are some other diseases that are known to be present in these wild and exotic wet markets. The reason these wet markets pose such a hazard to humans is largely on the fact that almost all the meat will be cross-contaminated by the time it's sold, since being sanitary is not really of the utmost importance. This, included with the close proximity of wild animals, makes it easy for diseases from animals to infect humans. And the hot and humid conditions in a lot of these markets make it a perfect place for the growth of bacteria and spread of disease. Or possibly something even worse.
Okay. This was my first time watching Good Enough's channel, and honestly, I found it very entertaining, very educational. I found it very much like Salmonella or Internet Historian, where they tell a story, but they kind of tell it with like quirky attitude, you know? It was fun. I think I might react to another one of his videos. I'm gonna subscribe so I know when he's coming. You go subscribe right there. We'll put all, so I know all the videos. Thanks for watching this with me, and I hope you come around again and we can watch something else together. I'll see you guys later. Bye.